we're not going to do an actual blood draw today because we don't want to upset our lovely, loaned, beautiful show cow here, but we're going to demo where it's done. And if anybody wants to come up afterwards, Chris said he'd be more than happy to get you up close and personal to show you where to insert a needle to do this. But we're not going to actually do it on her because she has to perform at her best on Saturday. There are several methods of doing pregnancy testing, and we thought we'd hit a couple of them that you may or may not have done. We started out by having our vet come to our home and actually do the palpation method, and that's great, except that he doesn't make very much coming to our house when he can go out and do 400 of them at once on somebody's ranch. And he's the kind of vet who teaches us as much as possible to do as many things as possible for our animals. So Chris has mastered vaccinations, he's mastered blood pulls from underneath the tail. We do our own cleaning out of eyes. We do as much as we can because he's one guy in a huge county and he may not be there when we need him. So he's been a great teacher, and this is one of the things we learned from him. So that's one method of pregnancy testing, is have your vet come out and do palpation. We like to know early on, at 30 days if possible, so that's why blood testing is a good deal for us. We really prefer it. He does not like to do palpation that early because our ducksters are so small, and he's worried that he will actually crush the fetus at 30 days. So another reason that we like to do a different method. There's ultrasound, and again, we have a great vet, but it's not something he's going to come out and do for 5 or 10 animals for us exactly when we want to know. So you typically take them into a vet's office to be ultrasounded. We find it somewhat expensive. On the other hand, they're pretty accurate at a certain stage of the pregnancy. They're often able to tell you whether it's a male or a female. So that's definitely one method. The other one that is just now becoming more popular, and we're still seeing that you have to send it into a lab and it's a bit more expensive, is milk. And for some of the folks out here who milk, that's a very cool method because you're already doing it every day. I've got the name of a lab in Idaho that will accept milk samples. Compared to the other things that we're going to talk about, it's a bit more expensive and it has to be timely. But I think IDEX, who we're going to talk about for blood tests, is actually going to come up with something where you can do it at home with milk. So we're hoping to see that one of these days too. The only drawback is it works only for your cattle and milk. So if you have a heifer, you're going to have to find another method anyway. Why would you want to do this? We read a lot about, well, heck, either there's a baby later or there isn't. Well, that's true, but we time ours pretty well. So we know when the bull went in, and we start pulling blood, 45 days later. So they've been through a cycle. Actually, we do it at 60 days. So we let them go through a full cycle. When you do blood testing, you get accurate results like 99.8% when they are at 28 days. So for us, that's kind of important because we know when the bull went in, we know when their first pregnancy could happen. And if you're calving in Wyoming like we do in the cold in March sometimes, we like to know that time frame pretty tightly so that, you can't go in the barn because we don't have room, but you're imminent even though you may not look like it. So for us, it's an important thing. And I just kind of like to know if they're pregnant. Do we want to switch bulls in midstream or something? So those are the reasons we do it. Can you wait and see if they come back in heat? Sure, but ours are typically out on grass pasture, the best we can give them, at the time that they would come back into heat, so we're not necessarily monitoring that way. So those are among the reasons that we do it, and we find that there's a good bit of interest in this because One of these methods you can do at home and get results, and the other one you can send in. They're pretty comparable now in price. We were a little dubious at first, so here's how we went about it, and then Chris will do some demo, and I've got loads of handouts, and I've got some samples of things so you can take it home and give it a try. The first method we've used is bioprint, and that's the one that Dave saw demonstrated. The actual bioprint lab came out to our place and did a really nice presentation, but she couldn't make it here, so she's counting on us to represent her, I guess. And it involves the same blood draw as IDEX, and their product is called IDEX on the farm, and it looks literally like a home pregnancy test. Where you look for the little pink line to show up. Same blood draw, everything. And we were pretty dubious, like, okay, you know, we tried the urine version, which if you read up on it, can't possibly happen, but Chris could be pregnant and so were our steers. So don't buy the urine version. It doesn't work. It just takes your money and makes you laugh real loud. So don't do that one. So the first thing that we did was we pulled all our blood samples. We did the IDEX on-farm version at home, and then we sent all the same samples to bioprint, and we've had nothing but total success with them and their outcomes, and they matched 1-to-1. So that was really comforting, and we've done that twice now on some smaller scale as well. So we really do feel like we can get up here and talk about the fact that they are accurate and that both of them are accurate. We'll put it that way. IDEX is really new, but it's handy because you can put some drops of blood in their little container, and 15 minutes later in your kitchen, you know if they're pregnant. So that's slick. So first of all, in order to be able to do this, you have to draw the blood. And there are a dozen videos or more out on YouTube and things. So if you don't catch all the nuances here, some of them are quite good and they show you exactly where and when. But in the meantime, we're gonna give you an up close and personal version and view of this beautiful young cow's behind. And so you have a needle and a...
Sure.
Okay. Usually we do it together, and I'm the tail holder, and Chris is the drawer of the blood. So we're going to duplicate what we do at home. We could do that. Yeah. We'll get him to talk. He's going to talk his way through. There you go. He gets to talk.
Does that come out?
Okay.
Yeah, normally we got these in the squeeze chute, or before I bought a squeeze chute, we just pushed them up with a gate between the fence, had their head pulled in tight. So you really don't want the cow moving around on you. It's going to a little bit, unless you've got a newer chute that has a block that you can move up and keep it from backing up.
Another
So
product we recommend.
You want to get the tail and get it straight up.
Yeah.
Okay, you see how normally they'll twist a little bit. You want to get that tail straight.
Nope. She's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. That's where the squeeze comes in. And there's stop.
Hang on, sis. It's okay.
You're going to line up both holes with your needle, and you want to get right in the middle of that tail. Now right under here, you put your finger up there and feel it. There's a little U-shaped tunnel for the veins and arteries to run out through that tail and back, and that's where you're getting in that needle. So I'm going to line them up, I'm going to come up, and I don't want to get too close in here. I want to be out on the tail just a little and just push it in. Line it up until I get my spot, then I'm going to push it in, and a lot of times they'll move. So when I push that in, it'll be like that, and I'll let go. And that happens a lot. Yeah, I don't blame the cow. And, if you don't have any blood at that point and you're in the right spot, very gently turn that needle. Because the way that tip is cut, you could be like right next to it, and as you turn it, you'll nick that artery enough. And then you're in there and you're keeping pressure. Like you're trying to draw blood, keep a little pressure on it.
I got her.
And when you hit the spot, you'll start getting a few drops. So just hold it in that spot. And you don't need
A couple of cc's.
Yeah, a couple of cc's. You don't need much at all. Occasionally, you'll hit it, and the cow's blood pressure will be enough it'll push the plunger all the way out. In that case, when you pull it out, push the tail down and hold the tail in for a minute or so to give that a chance to plug up the bleeding, get the bleeding to stop. I always apologize to the cow for sticking the needle in it. But it's relatively simple. You need to get into that little view tunnel. You need to have your tail pretty straight. And a lot of times I'll lean in. As she's got the tail up, I'll lean in and I'll grab it and twist it and pull it up.
Hang on, girlie. It's okay.
Get underneath. That's all right. Let her
She's good. Yeah.
But with a squeeze chute, you need to have her as mobile as you can get her. And that's it.
Yeah. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Okay. I got that. So the two companies, like I say, that I talked about are Bioprint and IDEX. So we find them to be extremely accurate. Bioprint, we do just what Chris said. We pull the blood into that tube. Make sure you have everything labeled ahead of time so you know who you're going to draw from. That's critical. Don't reuse a needle. Don't reuse any of the tubes because you don't want to mix up your samples. So when we do it pretty much wholesale at our place. Everybody lines up and gets their turn. So I pre-label the, where are they? We use the red tube top. I'm going to give you a business card and a handout from a lady who does it in Wyoming in Laramie. And if you just have a few animals and call her, she will send you the supplies in advance. Some of the other companies will too, but they charge you a little more. We buy these by the 100. So we for a long time we did this a lot. We're pretty good at it now, but it has a place on the tube for you to label the animal's name. And even if you're doing the other version of it, still label them, and then there's no mix up.
How do you ship them?
The cool thing about this is you can keep it sitting out on your countertop for days. And we just basically, you take all your tubes after you have them labeled. She has a form that you fill out that matches all the names. You rubber band them. You pack them so that the post office will take them as non-biohazard. So, and there are instructions for this, but you wrap all the tubes in groups of 5, roughly, in rubber bands, and then you wrap them in paper towel. Put them in a baggie, put a biohazard symbol in there, and they go in a box and away they go. Literally. It's super quick. In the mail. So the blood can sit for quite some time, because sometimes I don't get to it for a couple days. I'm pitching tubes in a box or something, but the prep is real important just from a biohazard standpoint with the post office. And we've never had an issue, so. But that's a good question. So basically, these tubes, it takes maybe 2 cc's, maybe 1. Sometimes we've just had cows, if we can eke out a cc, we're real happy. And that's proved to be enough for them to do it. They only need a few drops, really, to do the test. So that makes a difference. And if that sounds of interest to you, and turn around on those. From where we are to Laramie, Wyoming, I send them in a little priority box because we do quite a few at once. And it's like $9. So if I send them today, I have results by Saturday. So it's really quick. She gets them and turns them around overnight. So that's pretty cool. Yeah?
Other company you're referencing, you can just do basically a home test.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about that. Yep, I'm going to show you what those look like. It's okay, sister. You did good. So this was for a while our only option until the IDEX on the farm. And I recommend either version. Their accuracy rate is just almost identical. The earliest you can do these is 28 days for a cow who hasn't calved, and 70 days after they've calved. So if you have one that breeds back pretty quick, you have to wait out the full 70 days to get the accuracy. But at 28 days for us, that's pretty slick. To know within a month if they're truly pregnant. It also makes a difference when we're selling a bred animal, because we can show the test results on that animal and even have them backed up by the vet at that point. But we like to be able to send them home with a preg test result so that they know that they're getting an actual bred animal with the test. So these are important for either one of them. These go in the mail to the bioprint folk. We collect the blood in this even if we're doing the IDEX on the farm, and I'll show you what their packet looks like. It looks a whole lot, give me that. There you go. It looks a whole lot like an at-home test. So everything you need to do it besides a tube. You can even leave it in the syringe, but I don't always get to it real quick, so I tend to put it in one of those for lack of issues. I am going to give you that for a second. And IDEX has been really sweet to send us a couple of these, so if y'all want one to take home and try, I've got some up here to send with you. And they're also the ones who sent us the cool cow keychains with the babies coming out. Let's see. I can do this. Okay, so it looks like a home pregnancy test, quite literally. Okay, or a COVID test if you've taken one of those. It looks much like that as well. And they send you everything that you need to do it. And the two things I would tell you is pay close attention for best results, and they will tell you this too. This is a little pipette that they send, and you draw the blood up out of either the lids come off, so you draw the blood out and you fill it up to the top of this little thing. And then there's a hole here at the end, and you thank you. Okay, I'll let you. You literally empty this pipette piece into here so you get an accurate amount of blood, and then they send the testing material, and you pop off the top, and you do exactly 6 drops into the same hole that's on here. You'll get a line that shows what it should look like if they're pregnant, and then if they are, in about 15 minutes or so, you'll get the line that shows that they are. If you don't see that line, and sometimes it can be really faint, you have to look super careful, but if you don't see the line, then they aren't. And it was tough at first to decide if I was seeing a line or not seeing a line, because sometimes they're pretty faint, but we found that we can spot them pretty well. These are immediate, so there's that. If you've got one that you're just not sure if she is or isn't, or you need to know right away because you're going to make a sale, or there are just a whole lot of reasons that you might want to know about a pregnancy. This one's really, really fast as well. It's, again, when you line up the pricing, we still find that bioprint is the least expensive.
$3 a test.
Yeah, she's at $3 a test plus the mailing cost. That's it. And like I say, if you only have a few animals, she'll even send the supplies to you, so you're not out of pocket on that. If you use the lady that we use, we'll put it that way. Depending on where you buy the IDEX product, it runs somewhere between $5 and $8.50 per test, so it's a little bit higher. It's a lot more convenient, I would say that, but if you're doing a lot of animals, you kind of have to weigh what, price versus the utility on that one. But we're finding that they're super, super accurate either way. Like I say, IDEX has indicated that they have a milk pregnancy test, but what I did find with them in their research, it's only done at labs, so it's still not ready to go on the farm, but there are a couple of labs, and I do have the name of one in Idaho, and their email address if you want to see me later, if that's of interest. It looks like it was hard to tell their pricing, but it looked like it was a good bit more than what we're paying to do the blood version. But again, if you're already down there and you're milking, or you're doing some other tests for Yanni's or something else at that lab, you can use the same milk sample apparently, but right now they don't have an at-home test for it. Trying to think if there's anything else that is really, the big thing that we learned from IDEX, and their people reinforced this as I talked to them about doing this presentation, any error that you may have is probably because you didn't take the right amount of blood or use the right amount of the solution. So they really do recommend that you pay attention. Do I have questions? Because I know I just ran through a whole lot really fast. Do any of you do your own testing now at home? Yeah, okay, yeah, Jim. If you want to come up and take a peek on where Chris is pointing to, I know it's hard to see there. I think David let us keep her a little bit longer. I have a whole lot of materials up here if you'd like to take some. They've been super generous to provide handouts, and again, I always find that when I get home, I'm like, what did they say? So this is awesome because you have you've got some nice take-home pieces here, and we're happy to send them with you. Guys, question? And then you know where they go from here.
All right, wonderful. Thank you once again.
You're welcome.
Please give them a hand. You could.